Alright, we boofing. Now look. Now look everyone. I know there's thousands of you here right now. Okay, I know it's a lot of people here. There's thousands and thousands of us here. Let's just all calm down, get into an orderly line, okay? We'll settle this out. Just don't trample each other, okay? There's a lot of people here. I don't wanna cause any interference. I think everything's fine. I've never done this before, but I'm so incredibly bored. Alright, send me a link. I have to warn you that I'm not really the best chess player in the world, but I'm kind of decent. I'm decent, but like, I'm not really like the greatest chess player in the world. Just send me a link. I mean, my time with Magnus Carlsen definitely taught me a thing or two, but it didn't really end that well. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm alright at chess, but oh look, three people. Don't forget to give me gamer bits, people. I need gamer bits. How do you think I'll pay my bills at night? We're gaming here. This is what we're doing now. I've officially decided to end my career discussing political issues, and now we're gaming. Can you get a copyright strike? I honestly don't want to pull up my YouTube because it's going to be really embarrassing. Can you even get a copyright strike? I'm going to pull up an incognito tab. I don't want you people seeing my Oh damn, that doesn't work, huh? How do I pull up an incognito tab? There we go. I don't want you people seeing my history. I don't want you people seeing what I look at. When I go to bed at night, I want to know sound that nobody knows what I listen to or what I like. When I speak, I like to remain in a distinct professor-student distinction. I don't like to have people prying into my life. I just got a text. Oh, I'm glad I closed Discord. That would have been embarrassing. Can you get a copyright strike if you listen to music while you stream? Because I had this Japanese guy give me a copyright strike a while ago, and it was really lame. I don't know. I don't think anyone here is. I'm just going to take a wild assumption, but I don't think anyone here is actually a copyright lawyer. What are we listening to? You know, Carsey Headrest's new album sucks. We'll listen to a little songs. I mean, I can take a couple copyright strikes, like I can take bullets, but I can't take too many, because then I'll lose like hours and hours of my time. I'll play it silently. Actually, the whole reason why I started this is because I was gonna play Dead by Daylight. But I'll play like one chess game with you. Let me actually get started. Does anyone here play Dead by Daylight? That's the real question. I have like the best internet in the world. Oh wow, you have me on Discord. I don't want to really open my Discord. Can you I don't want to open my Discord on stream. Oh, but I can just type the link in here, huh? I'm stupid. Alright, I'm gonna play this guy a quick game of chess. I have to warn you though that I suck. Stupid Dead by Daylight is gonna be annoying. DH9Z. Alright, we're boofing. Oh, um, uh, damn, this is really weird. You have to make a chess.com account? Isn't there a site where you can just use, oh, what's up? What's up? Yeah, I don't know. My time zone is really bad. It's only 9:30 here. So I'm just like sitting here really bored. I don't know what to do. Okay. how do I navigate this? What do I do? I need to protect my information security so the FBI doesn't track me down. I don't think I have a chess.com account. Damn, that sucks, dude. I'll make an account on my phone because I don't want people seeing. What should I make my name? Water and milk. Uh, Hold up. Yeah, we out here boofing. We're boofing right now. All right. What email do I use? Ah, WebRTC at airmail. My skill level. I am an expert at chess. All right, let's create my free account. Okay, I got it. So it's gonna be water and I'm not telling you people my password. I hope it doesn't show my email, otherwise I'm destroyed. All right. 1 of 7. It was already. It's already been accepted by another member. Okay, I just lost the popularity contest. We got 6 people in here. We're boofing. Oh damn. I don't know. I'll be watching. I'm gonna play Dead by Daylight. Anyone here play Dead by Daylight? I'm gonna open my. Well, first of all, this is way too loud, especially if I'm just gonna be playing killer. Let me open it up on my phone and see if it works. I'm gonna try to get this going. Yes, gaming is practice. Yes, I'm practicing right now. All right, how do I go? Oh, but I gotta play Spirit, huh? All right, we out here. All right, I'm rank 7. I used to be rank 6, but I de-ranked. We'll be playing Spirit. Try not to laugh at me. Can you guys hear me and can you hear the gamer right? I don't know if I'm gaming correctly. Is the game too loud? I don't want to be gaming incorrectly. Okay, can you hear the game? It's kind of like an audio. It's kind of like an audio thing. I'm gonna be playing against very sweaty people, so I'm not really looking forward to this. I'm probably gonna get destroyed because I haven't played in a few minutes. I'm gonna bring a Mori. Oh, I got Washikaze Saya. If you guys watch me play Survivor, you just watch me like cry because I don't know how to play Survivor. But I can play Killer fine. 5 people in here. See, this is what the Vanguard looks like. 5 people. All right, we out here. Let me check this. What's your opinion on Anton Panikovic? I mean, I've never really, I mean, Council Communism is, I'm not too familiar with Bonoic, honestly. Council Communism is kind of a meme, though. Honestly, I don't really hear much of him nowadays. I hear much more about, Luxembourgism. I've seen a lot of De Leonists, which is really interesting. I don't know why De Leon wasn't. He actually had some pretty good theories. I don't know why he's not as nearly as popular as he should be. Thoughts on Joe? Joe? Uncle Joe? You mean the man who committed acts of... Yeah, this is probably going to be too loud, so I'm going to turn it down a bit. Joe Mama? You mean Uncle Joe, the Stalinist who defied the great word of Vladimir Lenin? You know, it's funny, if you've ever actually read Trotsky, you would know that Lenin and Trotsky were complete rivals. Lenin was completely opposed to Trotsky. Yeah, I'm not even paying attention. I'm gonna get wrecked. Where'd you go, Bill? You're going to the infinite? What's up, friend? Yeah, I know there's a window there. Ah, very funny. Damn it. Actually managed to knock me off. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really uh, the best, uh, Dead by Daylight professional in the world. And I might rage quit because... Let me try to safety pit first. Okay, the thing about this game that really sucks is I'm playing as a killer that relies entirely on audio, but it's a little bit hard to play with audio if there's blaring chase music. Thoughts on the ultra left? The ultra left are actually pretty interesting to interact with because they aren't complete morons. I don't necessarily agree with everything Lenin said in left-wing communism and infantile disorder. In the parliamental, I see a lot of people cite him on the issue of electoralism, but I don't necessarily agree, especially nowadays. I mean, the ultra left are definitely a lot more interesting to interact with than like, you know, an Anarchy or Vosh or whatever. Yeah, I'm getting literally destroyed right now. For me, the best people to interact with are Hojists, because Hojists are hilarious. And I don't really agree with the meme that Hojists are racist, but thoughts on Vosh. You know, that debate was really funny. I honestly went into the debate a little bit too overprepared. He's just a complete grifter. He's just someone who relies on pretending like he has any idea what he's talking about. For the majority of the debate, he just basically blew me off and didn't really like. For the most of the debate, he said, "Oh, I'd have to look into, you know, worker co-ops in the USSR." And it's like, dude, you realize that the agricultural sector of the USSR was worker co-ops. Like, Google what a kolkhoz is. You're the type to read Lenin. Yeah, that was really weird. I don't know why he said that. I think he said tankies read Lenin, and I thought he said what's it called? That I'm a Lenin because I read because I'm a tanky because I read Lenin or whatever. But yeah, he got destroyed. The thing is I hope he debates Maupin, cause in terms of history, I'm pretty good, but Maupin is just like a god. Yeah, everyone should definitely read Lenin. Oh, what's up, buddy? Yeah, Maupin is a complete god. I actually joined Maupin's server. And Maupin's server is pretty good, but the only thing is they're a little bit too apologetic on China. Well, Maupin himself is like extremely apologetic in terms of China. Yeah, I know you have oh, never mind. Bordiga would be considered a Stalinist Vosh. Yeah, it's funny. He was talking about Lenin, and I was trying to explain that to him, tank or Levcoms would be considered tankies because Bordiga is especially one person who considered himself even a greater Leninist than Lenin. So to him, Bordiga would absolutely be a tanky. Yeah, he just. What's funny is in the comments, everyone was like, "Oh, you're citing Grover Fur." Like they're just completely blowing it off, and then they're going around citing like History.com and and like Khrushchev. Like I don't know. You gotta read Khrushchev Lies. Like once you read that book, it's just you learn just how insanely um, neurotic Khrushchev actually was. What are you guys doing? Somebody? Yeah, sprint burst. But yeah, my goal is to definitely. Oh, what the hell did I just do there? Damn it, dude. What's your issue with China? So the thing is with China is a lot of Dengists will claim that China is in some sort of like prolonged NEP, but it's really hard to um, it's really hard for that to have any merit when people like Jack Ma are making billions of dollars from cheap um, exploitative labor. And you know, I was kind of arguing with some of the Dangists in Caleb's server right now, but I don't believe that making billions of dollars um, and being in a communist party is socialism, especially when it costs your workers. Like, I get that China has lifted people from poverty, but sometimes the GDP isn't really the number one end all be all to if a society is taking care of its people or not. Socialism with McDonald's characteristics. Yeah, I don't think people understand how far the private property laws go in China. China actually has constitutional private property laws. And I believe Unruh made a video about it. Thoughts on PCUSA, Party of Communist USA. I joined my local sect of PCUSA, but um, they can be very, 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 very sectarian, which is something that kind of turned me off. I'm a little bit more turned on to the idea of what Caleb is building, which is the CPI, the Center for Political Innovation. That really seems it seems a lot better than me because it's going to be not. I mean, it kind of is like right now, kind of a cult of personality around Caleb, but having just a general, it's kind of like he's trying to replicate the Working Men's Association or something. Caleb said that workers' wages are steadily increasing in China. Yeah, but right now there's a lot of gross misconduct towards Chinese workers. And besides, there's stuff like the human right. Like I'll admit, I'm not an expert on China, but I think from a pragmatic point of view, um, having the consumer goods industry pumping out as much cheap electronics as possible at the cost of the livelihoods of people isn't the best for the society. Thoughts on Juche? Um, I actually, I remember a while back I actually read Juche and I read about Songgong, and Juche works for North Korea. I mean, North Korea is in a really weird spot because their country basically has absolutely nothing in terms of natural resources and trading partners. Yeah, DS me. So Jute works really well for North Korea, but they have started to become a little bit too reliant on China, but I don't actually think they really have much of a choice. But I mean, I don't think Juche is revisionism. I think it's really just Leninism applied. Leninism will appear all differently all over the world. It's not going to be like a monolith. But fundamentally, they did things right. Like they abolished commodity production. They take care of their workers. At the very least, China acts somewhat as a counterbalance against American imperialism. Yeah, but uh, I'm just very uncomfortable with the idea of Chinese national banks connected directly to the Chinese Communist Party, who are also directly connected to billionaires being the governance of the development of places like Africa. But I mean, if it's really like mutual development, like people say, then you know I'm not opposed to it. A lot of the reason why Sankara failed is because he couldn't get the development because the entire organizations of the WTO, IMF, and World Bank just basically completely turned on him. Uh, have you read Gramsci? If so, where did you get his writings? Um, I'm afraid I'm not familiar. If I'm completely honest, I'm afraid I'm not familiar. Maybe if I Google him, I'd remember one of the books he wrote, but familiar with modern monetary theory. Fairly familiar with modern monetary theory. Most of what I know about um, current day economics came from reading Wolf. I read a lot of Wolf. I read Contending Economic Theories, and I read um, some Hanju Chang. Like most of what I know about economics are from Hanju Chang. Top five philosophers. Um, honestly, I can't really get down with many philosophers because it seems a little bit like infantile, but most people absolutely adore Kant, but I feel like a lot of his extreme racism really leaked into his philosophical thinking, and you can kind of like retroactively try to expunge that, but I feel like it's kind of the same thing with Bakunin, where sometimes your reaction will end up leaking into what you're saying. Um, in terms of Zizek, Zizek is really weird because he tends to change positions a lot. And I actually wouldn't even really consider him a leftist anymore. He definitely doesn't consider himself a Marxist anymore. Post the Peterson debate. So top five philosophers. I don't know if I'd really be able to give you that list. What's up, buddy? Obviously the best philosopher in the world is Saint Stirner or Saint Max. That's all you gotta read. You just gotta read The Unique at its property. That's all you need. So after Capital, after the first volume of Capital, I'm trying to think. Volume 2 is really important because it goes in depth on the circuits of um, commodity production. It goes in depth on how value is produced. And it gives a lot of mathematical logic behind it. But after Capital, probably his pamphlets later in his life. Stuff like Critique of the Gotha Program. Um, stuff like I'm trying to think and play at the same time. Well, Critique of the Gotha Program is like phenomenally important. Um, I mean, after you read Capital, you should probably. It sounds stupid, but you might want to read Volume Two. Thoughts on Finbull? Finbull's one of the best communist YouTubers on the website. Um, there really is no other communist YouTuber, maybe besides Unruh or Endymion, that's given so much content to the platform as Finbull really has. So Finbull is just, yeah, he's a legend. He's absolutely a legend. I don't like Hakeem. I don't like his fanboying for for Sakai though. I really don't. Um, a lot of what Sakai said was like ultra reactionary. I don't believe that there's a distinction between the working class and the proletariat. I think that's really unscientific. Isekai doesn't really have much of a foundation for that. It's just kind of like, oh, Lenin said this in the Second International. Oh, colonialism and oh, damn, look at that. They're like way above me in rank. Yeah, they were definitely throwing, but yeah, Finball is good, but honestly, I don't really like Hakeem. Uh, and his takes on he seems a little too anti-white working class, which is not very productive, not good. So yeah, lately I started the Capital group and I was very tempted to skip directly to the chapter on constant and variable capital, which seems kind of extreme, but I don't know why Marx didn't include that in chapter 1. He really should have because all he really says is value is socially necessary quantities of abstract human labor objectified into a commodity, but there's also the value that gets transferred from the machines. So I don't know why he didn't include that as a side note, the distinction between constant and variable capital. Gundry's German Ideology, the Philosophical and Economic Manuscripts. In terms of the German ideology, yes, but I don't think that people are going to really get that much out of the German ideology. I had to actually reread the German ideology because if you don't really have the historical context, it's going to come off as one giant blob of a rant. Um, but yeah, I mean, the German ideology would be a good. I mean, the German ideology is above all funny. Um, one of the funniest things I read was when Engels, um, I believe he was talking. I believe it was a letter to Brock, and he was like, "Hey, Dad. Hey, dude. I'm sorry, but I had to expunge some parts of this pamphlet to you because Marx was just Marx was just using too many boo boo words." What about Bad and Panda? Isn't he the dude that like lives in Vietnam and he has like his girlfriend is Vietnamese or whatever? Or didn't he have like a business fail or something? Um, in terms of what you should read out of all those, I would probably say the German ideology. Have you read Bordega? Oh, that's non-compete. Okay, yeah. Bro, honestly, I joined non-compete server when I was starting all this stupid anti-breadtube stuff. And like all I found were just people with pit crews like ERPing with each other, like erotic role playing, and they had like anime cat girls and stuff. And it was a little bit of a culture shock. Have you read Bordega? I haven't read much of Bordega actually. I can't really make the best criticisms of Bordega. Bad and Panda is the dude who moved to like Argentina from Australia. That's weird. Have you read Hegel? Um, I've read I've read a good part of the phenomenology, and I follow this guy called Gregory B. Sadler, who's like basically a meme in the philosophy community. And he's this guy on YouTube, and he's like a ex-philosophy professor, and he's been going through. He has a series called Half Hour Hegel, and that's really how I read the phenomenology. In terms of other later works or whatever, like the philosophy or right, I haven't, but I've been going through the phenomenology right now, and his videos are like half an hour long, and it'll just go through a paragraph of Hegel. But I don't really, in terms of Hegel, I see the reason why you'd want to study Hegel, but personally, I don't really want people to like learn all the Gestaltens or whatever before you actually like learn what variable capital is. Um, Bad and Pand, I mean, I don't know. Let's. Oh damn, yeah, I don't want to show you people what I look at on YouTube. Okay. Because I know you people are watching my every move. Gregory Sadler is like the leftist Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna yeah, so I guess a lot of people, so his daughter is transgender and a lot of people troll him about it. And it's like really fun. It's just funny to like it's just funny. I can't find it. They're all on like 8chan. There's a lot of comments that you can see of him, of people like criticizing him, and then I've read to read Marx's critique of On the Philosophy of Right. Yeah, it's definitely important. In terms of like Marxist, actual concrete philosophical departure, definitely Theses on Feuerbach, is gonna be the best text. Um, but yeah, I mean, let's just look at this Bad and Panda dude. Who the hell is this guy? One thing that really shocks me is how do these people have so many like subscribers? This is insane. The Bengal famine, how Cuba works, criticizing the guy in Bolivia, criticizing the government. I wouldn't call Hakeem anti-white working class. He talks about bad white bourgeoisie leftists and just overall privileged Americans. Yeah, but I find it a little bit reactionary to his anti-gray zone video was shit. I'm not familiar. Watchmen and liberal ideology. I haven't watched the new Watchmen. I was a big fan of the original Watchmen, but I wouldn't call him white working class. He talks about white bourgeoisie leftists. Yeah, but Sakai is definitely there's definitely a lot of quotes from Sakai where he just basically distinctly distincts like or separates like the white working class from the proletariat, which is one of the most like unscientific things you can do. I mean, if you want to keep the reactionary white working class from finding socialism, the best thing you can do is to alienate them as some sort of like inherent like cohesive monstrosity of like some um you know like some like autonomous being when they really aren't. I mean, the reason why they're reactionary is because their parents were reactionary during wars of um during the Cold War. Just bought Xi Jinping's book. You know, I was going to buy Xi Jinping's book, but I heard it wasn't. I heard it was just speeches from Xi Jinping or quotations from Xi Jinping. I might actually buy it. Um, I forgot what it's called. It's the white. I remember Caleb looked at it. What's it called? Yeah, it's the governance. I was going to read the governance of China, but I heard that it's a lot of just simple quotations, like long speeches from Xi Jinping. But I might actually buy it because um, I'm not really I'm not really too familiar with the current line of China. I know he's talking about socialism by like 2050 or 2035 or something like that. Watchmen TV show was very lib. Yeah, I know it was like anti like neo Nazis or whatever. It's just weird. It was like instead of like the Soviet Union, it was like neo Nazis, and then like oh what they made Doctor Manhattan like black, and then he had like a black spouse, and I don't know if bro, did I just really white? Yeah, they made Doctor Manhattan black. Now, the problem with this Doctor Manhattan is he has some of the worst acting I've ever seen. The original Doctor Manhattan, I don't know the name of the actor, is phenomenal, but this guy absolutely sucks. He is really, really bad. Also, what's the canon coherency? Because Doctor Manhattan was definitely not black the last time I checked. So is this like an alternate universe, or is there a new Doctor Manhattan or something? And like, yeah, I guess the whole antagonists are like neo-Nazis or something. And they have like the Rorschach masks, which is like really weird, but I don't know why they have the Rorschach masks. But yeah, I haven't watched it. Let's just look through. Actually, let's just go through. Bro, I totally messed up. I think I accidentally started streaming twice. Yeah, some of my older videos aren't really the best in the world. Oh, damn. Where is it at? He can be any color he likes. He's Dr. Manhattan. So he made himself black and he married a black girl. Yeah, I don't know. What would you even make it about? Is Night Owl in there? Like, I don't know. It's weird. This is when. Oh, no, 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 no. I need to show you guys something. Oh yeah, this is the funniest thing, by the way. Arguing with Nazis on the kill stream. So Vosh will go out and argue with Nazis on the kill stream, but as soon as he finds out that someone isn't completely and utterly um against Uncle Joe, he just completely loses his stuff. Uh, what do you think of Vosh preferring video games to leftist theory? Honestly, I feel like he does it because he just makes like insane amounts of money off of it. Um, I don't know why people give people who play video games money. I really don't. I don't understand it. They have Rorschach masks because some people complained about Rorschach not being racist enough in the 2009 movie. Really? Wait, Rorschach was racist in the comics? I don't remember that. Oh yeah, 80s Wolf. I actually saw a lot of your comments, and they were cool. I appreciate it. He's a grifter, pure and simple, bro. Yeah, for sure he is. The funniest part though is, hold up, let me find it. Damn, I gotta find it. He did something to my audio to make it like sound really good too. Where is it? I said. Hold on, I won't spoil it. Have you ever checked out a channel called Premiere whatever? No, I haven't. What's Embark? I wanted to show a clip really quick. Oh yeah, this is a funny part. Listen to this. I don't defend previous states. So let me get this straight. When you argue with someone that has an idea that only exists in your head, this is completely and totally ad hoc. This is something that, and I saw this with his debate with Sargon, when Sargon was trying to like pressure him about individual specific tax policy. Every time Sargon would make a criticism of him, he would just say, well, we'll just readjust the tax policy so that it's not theft, or we'll just, like Sargon was saying, I think inheritance tax is theft, and Vosh didn't know really how to respond, so he's like, oh, we'll just adjust our society so we don't have theft. Like, if you don't defend previous states, then you're literally just talking out of your mind, and any criticism is subject to change. Oh yeah, that was funny. Oh my god, I'm trying to find it, dude. This isn't hyperbole. Vosh actually has a fetish for. Yeah, I've seen that on Kiwi Farms. I don't know. In terms of that, I just feel like he dives a little bit into his personal life, a little bit too much. Um, I mean, didn't he post a? Oh, we can't hear it. Okay. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. It's probably way too quiet. Here, try now. Even want to live there because, frankly, I would probably get. It's something we should hear. Do you agree?
So this I wouldn't is
Or
nothing infant because they said
left
fuck
comms.
why
No,
no
Lenin. So with that correlation,
is what
no,
I
your
advocate for on
ideology.
stream.
Hold up.
Cannot you're right. It was
Let me find it.
Stalin. No, no, not
Oh, okay. I
everybody.
swear to God,
no,
I'll
no.
find it. In the context
Do
of
you
the
just he had to
well, Stalin was actually.
to
Hold
get
up. This
that
is it. This is it right here. This is it. Strap in. Strap in. Watch this.
position. He chased him out of the USSR and
Well,
then
Lenin.
killed him.
Stalin actually democratically won over Trotsky's program. Look at that. Look at that face. Look at that face. That is the face of complete and utter empty-mindedness. This is the face of someone who literally is defeated. This is the face of someone who has absolutely no response. And then look at notice what he says. Notice what he says. Notice what he says. I mean, if you want the citation, I can
Adolf
give it to
Hitler. Adolf Hitler won and then was legally appointed chancellor.
No, he was appointed. He brings it back to Adolf Hitler, and then later on in the debate, he says it doesn't matter if you're appointed democratically, you could be Hitler. And that is an argument against democracy. He's literally citing the meme argument against democracy that Hitler got elected, which isn't even true. Hitler changed the German constitution to merge chancellor and president. It's completely wrong. Yeah, argumentum ad Hitler. Like, what's the argument? What's that law? All arguments lead to Hitler. Like, come on, dude. Everything, Godwin's law. Like, all conversations, all arguments, all everything will just lead to Hitler. He didn't know what the Night of the Long Knives was either. He thought it was another crystal knocked. Dude. He probably thinks the purges in the USSR were the same as the light of the the night of the long knives. Literally Hitler ordering the murder of tons of uh members of the brown shirts and their families, equivocating that to the purges, which were a decentralized panic. Oh, he doesn't know anything about Catalonia either. I remember in the stream, I was making criticisms of anarchist Catalonia, and he couldn't even respond to it. He didn't even know what anarchist Catalonia was. And I tried to talk to him about Macno chain gangs. I don't know if it'll show on Google Images. Macno literally going around chain ganging peasants, like less than 1% of the actual population living in a commune. Like, most of the population of eastern Ukraine, which became the Free Territory, actually just being peasants. He didn't know any of this. He didn't know Nestor Makhno was a complete brutal thug who would chain gang anyone who disagreed with him. And he didn't know any of this. Like, he literally cited the Black Army, which is like such a meme. Like, you could basically consider them Amprim. He blocked me from Twitter after I said he'd been exposed. Yeah, have you guys seen Unru's video? It's funny because, um, yeah, Marx was in a status, everyone. He also wrote around massacring Jews. Yeah, he also went around massacring Jews. He was anti-Semitic as hell. And this is something that people don't know about Bakunin as well, is that Bakunin based his criticism of the centralization of credit from anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. He literally called Marxism an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. And people will talk about the First International like Bakunin just kicked Marx's ass or something. He's a very good rhetorician, but he's historically illiterate. He is just so. Bakunin was literally a Nazi. Like, Bakunin was absolutely like if Bakunin was around when the NSDAP was formed, Bakunin would probably be with Strasser because he was just so insanely anti-Semitic. Here, he didn't know peasants and proletarians were different classes. Yeah, that's something that I kind of tried to explain, but it's really hard to explain without using real, um, real Marxist terms. Thoughts on Bobovikian? I can't really give too many thoughts on the RCP. I mean, I've heard the RCP kind of act like thugs. The RCP in general have a history of acting like thugs, but anyway, more videos mocking Vosh would be great content. I don't know, honestly. Um, I don't know about more videos of mocking Vosh. Cause the thing is like I wanted to start moving to reading to getting some theory done because now that I have like the whole reason I went through the whole Vosh thing was because I wanted to um gain a little bit of audience so I could do this theory. But in terms of Vobovikian, honestly, I haven't really had that much history into the RCP, but what I've heard from the RCP is that they can be pretty thuggish and that their aesthetics aren't really productive. But they do good stuff in terms of black rights. Vosh lost a tremendous amount of credibility with me when he advocated for lesser evilism, the form of voting for Biden. Yeah, I don't think this dude knows that Joe Biden actually voted for the Iraq War. Um, you know, even Trump, like Trump has less. If you think about it, Trump has less of a imperialist warmongering record than Biden. I mean, I mean the dude literally has sexual assault allegations um, against him. His mind is like completely deteriorating. At this point, it's a complete joke. Is the Vosh and Caleb debate going to happen? At this point, probably not. Even though it's something we all want, Caleb is someone who has just an insane amount of historical knowledge. Um, and in terms of like real concrete theory, Caleb, I disagree with Caleb in terms of like real hard concrete theory, but Caleb is like literally a god. Well, first of all, Caleb is an absolute OG. Like this dude has been doing activism since 2007. So, he's like the OG. So um if Caleb actually did debate Vosh, then I mean his career would basically be over because he would be able to cite um communization is pretty utopic. I don't really agree with communization because it's extremely utopic. I don't really believe that you can inherently mix some kind of I don't really believe that you can inherently mix a philosophy of RCP. Yeah, like I've definitely heard that the RCP is very cringe. I don't really believe that you can mix a philosophy that concerns itself with dismantling hierarchies with the philosophy that concerns itself with um, centralizing the state. So I don't really. I find communization to be kind of a meme. Yeah, the moderator thing. I mean, Vosh wouldn't be able to talk over Caleb, so Caleb would literally just destroy Vosh. Like Vosh would have absolutely no chance. Like, what is Vosh even gonna do? Like, call him a tanky or like he can't cite anything. Like, Caleb has just this massive like repertoire of historical knowledge in his head that you know, Vosh would just absolutely be annihilated. All right, give me a copyright strike. I don't care. Let's listen to a little music. Thoughts on decolonization? Decolonization is kind of something that thoughts on Rage Against the Machine. Um, I'll show my music tastes in a bit. Rage Against the Machine, not really a big fan. Thoughts on decolonization? Decolonization, I'm not against it. I'm not against decolonization, but what decolonization can lead into is this sort of new Black Panther Party reactionary response. The Black Panther Party did it perfect. If you listen to Fred Hampton speak, it's very, very inspirational because Fred Hampton recognized that the reason why there's this inherent distinction between white and black people is because for hundreds of years, black people were literally just they were literally like the constant capital. Like they like they were a machine for hundreds of years. And decolonization I think is important, but it can come off as I don't want to say anti-white because that's a big like dog whistle, but I don't believe the response to white reactionaries is to push back on the existence of white people. I don't. I don't think that it's a good idea. And that sounds like Nas bully, but I don't believe going out and I mean I do believe in trying to balance, for example, literature, but in terms of just replacing in terms of something like affirmative action, then I'm absolutely against affirmative action. Or trying to replace white authors simply because they're white. That's reactionary. That's absolutely reactionary. Caleb is kind of a Russian shield though. Just saying he has some sketchy stuff on his streams. I definitely, definitely, definitely disagree with Caleb on pretty much all of his economic takes. The only thing I agree with him on is the nationalization of credit, transport, the National Health Service, pretty much, pretty much everything the state should be running. I do agree with him on that, but I think he's way too much of a China fanboy. I think he's way too apologetic for Deng. When Deng opened up China, there was an absolute crash in China. Deng opening up China was one of the worst things to happen to China. Now, of course, you have this huge boom. Well, you had that huge boom, and now China's been stagnating. But if China really is in some sort of prolonged NEP, it's just really weird to think how are those billionaires, going to feel about stopping their mass production of cheap consumer goods into a system of rational planning? Because at some point they're going to have to put down the consumer goods and they're going to have to go towards other industries that aren't profitable. So having those billionaires in the Communist Party may not, I mean, some people will say that they can just execute the billionaires, but um, thoughts on the immortal technique. Thoughts on immortal technique. Thoughts on Rolling the Jewels. I'm not really a big Death Grips fanboy. Thoughts on the U.S. mercenaries in Venezuela. When I saw that, I absolutely just burst out in laughter. That was absolutely pathetic. To think that a country like Venezuela, it's funny when Castro did it because I mean, I guess it's more funny when Castro did it because Cuba is literally just a tiny, poor third world island. But when Venezuela does it, it's still absolutely hilarious. To think that the biggest imperialist machine in the world that really started with China with the Office of Special Services, and then it went on to Italy, and they were trying to stop the Communist Party of Italy. They went around like convincing like Italian actors to like call up Italian American or Italians, and tell them not to vote for the Italian Communist Party. It's just insane. I mean, it was an absolute joke. Thoughts on God dang, he opened the hell out of those markets. Yeah, when Deng opened China, it was definitely a catastrophe, but there was also a general recession going on at the time, which didn't help. When the Great Depression happened, the USSR was not affected like the West was, which is a fact of history that gets blocked out. Thoughts on Hugo Chavez?
The Bolivarian revolutionaries are fantastic, and it's funny. You actually look at old Fox News. You know, when Venezuela is doing good, Venezuela private sector still dominates Venezuelan economy, but as soon as the oil prices absolutely take a dive, and like 25% of Venezuela's economy, like GDP, is from oil. So like 25 of their percent of their GDP, um, would just basically completely plummeted, and that's what a lot of the starvation happened. And then all of a sudden, they're not socialists, or they're blah blah blah. They're or they are socialists, but I don't agree with the idea that having private property in your constitution and trying to be socialist is the same thing. I wish Chavez was an ML. Thoughts on Tito? I wish Chavez was an ML. If Chavez was an ML, I really don't think what he's doing would be very different from what he would be doing if he was an ML, because really him nationalizing oil definitely, well, actually more industries became privatized. But I really don't think that there would be a major distinction. But thoughts on Tito? Tito lived an insane life. Tito was just his biography is absolutely insane. But in terms of Tito himself and his economic policy, he was definitely kind of a jackass, because ensuring private property in your constitution, your bureaucratic worker self-management, stuff like that. I mean, it just kind of mirrors China today. And most Titoists will come out with something like living standards or whatever. But Tito lived an insane life, but I feel like he tried too hard. If I can, Tito lived an insane life, but I seriously disagree with the idea that Yugoslavia was a socialist country. But obviously, Yugoslavia was absolutely phenomenally amazing for all of its citizens. I mean, the Yugoslav passport was one of the strongest passports to ever exist in world history. Vosh calls himself a market socialist, yet he knows nothing about Tito and his brand of market socialism. Yeah, I think Vosh would be pretty. I think there was a donation. There was a donation that I saw at the end of Vosh's stream after he got done talking to me, and one of the comments was what's it called? One of the comments was talking about socialist Yugoslavia had generalized commodity production and they were socialist, and he just kind of agrees with them, but he just kind of blows it off. And it's funny that he always does stuff like that after the stream when I'm not able to speak to him. He would have known that Yugoslavia had private property. Vosh was calling himself a Leptcon back when he was calling into Destiny streams. Dude, Vosh's obsession with Destiny is like literally creepy, dude. Like I don't understand his obsession with Destiny. Like if you think I'm obsessed with Vosh, or you think like Danky King is obsessed with Vosh, then you need to go watch some of Vosh's old stuff, because Vosh just has like this insane gravitation towards Destiny. It's just completely creepy. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. I didn't know there were all these like fact. I didn't know you could actually like moderate and whatever. But he steals his arguments too. Destiny does the same, or Vosh does the same thing as Destiny, where he just kind of looks at his chat and then he'll scan it if he doesn't have an argument, and then he'll just like repeat whatever his chat is saying, or he'll ask his chat for like sources. It's really weird. Yeah, he doesn't want to read. I don't know. Like most of the debate was him just basically, is there a synthesis between materialism and idealism? Definitely not. Um, I would say definitely no. Um, when Deng Xiaoping opened up China, he also dismantled the people's communes that Mao had set up, arrested the Gang of Four, which included Mao's wife. Yeah, there was the arresting of the Gang of Four. Yeah, I was about to say that too. He dismantled the barefoot doctors. Um, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Um, Deng completely turned China into this kind of hyper neoliberal machine. Well, it's not really neoliberalism, but I mean, I don't mean to like say that meme, but it's like close to being state capitalism. Neoliberalism with co-op characteristics. Lead, wheat, and gluten free. He is who he is who he be. Mind your biz for me. It could even help you in the long run. What good's a song if the jong's no fun? We got 14 people in here. What time is it? 10:17. I'm chilling. Why did you choose materialism over idealism? I'm leaning on idealism. Well, Hegel came from idealism mainly from his religious views, which I lack. In terms of materialism, I find idealism to be very, very semantical. Um, a lot of idealist schools of thought, like presuppositionalism, I find to be extremely semantical because if you're arguing with me on a presuppositional level and you're saying, how do we know how, like, you're saying the sky is blue, but how do we know you're coherent in that statement without a omnipotent creator? Well, at that point, you're just basically denying reality. I mean, we can measure ultraviolet rays and see, visible light on the electromagnetic spectrum, and we can see, what visible light is. But I find idealism to be very, very semantical. That's why I don't really prefer it. I prefer materialism. So that's basically why I lean towards it. But yeah, anyway. I don't know why I've had to pee so much lately. Oh damn. Word primer, dime my mama, and make sure it stay tight. It's only right on the daylight and the. Yeah, that's most of what my experiences with idealism have been, especially when I argue against Christian idealism, presuppositionalism is very semantical. Have you heard of Keith Woods? I haven't. I haven't heard of Keith Woods. Bro. How are you with the quarantine? Honestly, it's kind of a blessing and a curse because before I would get up at like 5:30 in the morning. I would sprint to the places I had to be. I would go there, I would sit there for an hour, I would leave, I would come back home, sit around tired because I woke up so early, pretty much do nothing. Now I go to sleep at like 2 in the morning and I wake up at like 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm pretty sure everyone's doing that right now, but I just have a lot more time to do things. Looking up Rocky and MRE on YouTube, if you want to laugh, he's calling the coronavirus communism. Dude, I haven't seen. We need to watch a little Darth Dawkins rage. Darth Dawkins is literally like the epitome of.
Listen to me, fucker. Answer my fucking question.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tom and Boxes, but Tom and Boxes is a really good server for philosophy. And unfortunately, Tom quarantined the server. It's like the server for philosophy. Um, we're checking out Smart Kids. Yeah, I'll definitely look into it. But Tom Voxis was like the server for philosophy back in the day, and then he like closed it out to people, and I left the server, and now I can't rejoin. Darth Dawkins is just like my idol. Rocky MRE. I think I've heard of this guy actually. Bro, these like right wing.
Welcome.
Oh, I know this dude. Yeah, I know this dude. Is Stefan Molyneux wrong about the coronavirus? You know, there's actually a picture of someone who posted the JQ, like, of all the CNN producers, and they're all like, they have Star of David's next to them. And Stefan Molyneux actually replied to it. And this guy was like, how do you feel about the Jewish question? And Stefan Molyneux was like, big if true. Stefan Molyneux was like, the purpose is like the epitome of the alt-right pipeline. Oh, fuck. Dealing with virus hysteria. There was some video from some neat like some liberal channel that or some liberal news agency that came out, and it was them like comparing Ebola under Obama with like coronavirus and how they weren't reacting to it the same. Boomers come first again, destroying everything to stop a virus. Yeah, I don't know what's up with these people. Like, I don't know what's up. Like over here in California, a lot of people are like trying to go to the beaches and stuff, and I mean, it's not like they just have this like extreme libertarian mindset. But the thing is that's not really how viruses work. Like viruses make you sick, so you can sneeze on other people, so they can get sick. So if you're going out sneezing on other people on a beach, differences between Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. That's we gotta watch this one.
What is monotheism? This video
All right, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty late here. I'm just chilling until I go to sleep.
for a subsequent analysis of the Trinitarian perspective in Christianity. Along with scriptural reasons to question the Trinity, there are theological issues based on the definition of monotheism. For this video, I'll cover the differences between the three main monotheistic religions, often called the Abrahamic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I'll also be talking about how to properly define monotheism, as well as another significant form of monotheism, Zoroastrianism. The simplest explanation for monotheism is the belief in one God.
Thoughts on Gavin Newsom? Gavin Newsom is like the epitome of. Damn, I've been streaming for an hour, bro. Gavin Newsom is like the epitome of. I don't know how to describe it. He's just like the epitome of. I didn't have a dad. I like to drink and fight, dude broism. Like. Honestly, it was funny watching the infighting between Gavin Newsom and like some of the alt-right people, but I mean, it's just like into like the whole. Oh my god, play one of his videos on communism. Yeah, actually, I haven't really been able to find like really bad anti. I know Tick had like really funny videos on like Hitler, which Finbull responded to. Maybe if I can find one. Men going their way to incel, blah blah blah. Do cost the battle for Aryan identity. Now, I'm not an expert on race, but I don't know if this man would really count as the purebred German Aryan god that he defines himself. Globalist obsession with Russia. That's hilarious. Communism destroyed South Africa.
South Africa is a warning to all of us. Since uploading my last video on South Africa, things have continued to decline in the country. The popularity of this video demonstrates that there's a strong desire to learn about what's happening in this deeply troubled part of the world, having now become another failed leftist state. Truth be told, it's too late to avoid a hot conflict of some kind in South Africa, and all we can do now is mitigate the fallout and use this country as an example of why multiculturalism and communism don't work. As South Africa transforms into a rainbow nation of only one colour, red, the expropriation of land without compensation that I warned about previously is now taking place, with the National Assembly of South Africa passing a bill at the end of February sanctioning this course of action. With this video, I will continue to raise awareness of the failed state of South Africa, as well as provide further insights explaining why this is taking place. Although I'm generally happy with my last video on South Africa, there is one
Thoughts on Thomas Sankara? Thomas Sankara did literally nothing wrong besides, I mean, there's a lot of contentions about what he did with I believe it was the union teacher strike. They were demanding higher wages. And it's kind of hard to give higher wages when you're in a third world developing country. But besides that, Thomas Sankara literally did nothing wrong. I would cite Thomas Sankara more in discussions, but the problem is that that stage of Burkina Faso was so short that it's very hard to really give like some sort of, like, the USSR is perfect. You have um, you know, electricity and running water in the Tsar's house, and then you have horse carriages outside, and then you go from that, like, that semi-feudal society into the NEP, state capitalism, into socialism. So like the USSR is, like, people wonder why we cite the USSR, but the USSR is like literally the example for a transition into socialism. So yeah, Thomas
one thing
Sankara
I
did
mentioned
nothing
that I'd like
wrong.
to revisit and expand on. I mentioned that Afrikaners did not come into contact with natives until 120 years after they settled in the Cape of South Africa, but this only applies to the Bantus. It's important to note that the Bantus are not natives of South Africa, migrating from the north and east of Africa. However, I neglected to mention another ethnic group, the Khoi and San people, known collectively as the Khoisan. Evidence proves that they also migrated to South Africa from the north and east of Africa when their numbers were threatened by the more advanced metal weaponry and agricultural methods of the Bantus. Like the majority of tribal cultures, the San were hunter-gatherers or bushmen. The Khoi, on the other hand, were semi-nomadic or pastoral nomads that practiced animal husbandry. Though they travelled around, they would often have portable shelters that moved with them and grew crops at different locations. Considering how the Khoisan lived,
Oh
it
my
doesn't change
god,
my previous
dude. Can
arguments
you get
about
to the
nomadic
point?
people narrative the left wants.
Uh, Talking so much crap. You arrived here, people, or not. You are. You suck and drink about. Goodness sake, get out of Africa, you parasite. Thoughts on the Ba'athist Party? So the Ba'athist Party, I can't really say that the Ba'athist Party weren't socialist. I can't. I can't. The hardest part is that you can only really judge history by what they did. Play one where he claims the West is communist. I can find one. I know he's just gonna say, well, one tribe took over another tribe, therefore colonialism was just or whatever. But yeah, I can't really say for sure that the Ba'athist Party weren't socialist. I mean, like, Saddam nationalizing oil was, phenomenally. I mean, I believe it, like, during Saddam, like, $1 was worth like 3 Iraqi dinar. It was just insane, the absolute growth that happened. But Pan-Arabism is very flawed as an ideology. Oh my god. Yeah, this is just like this is just like Steven Crowder, but he read Wikipedia and he went farther to the right. What is he, like a non? Is he like a non-Trinitarian or something? Because I've heard some arguments from Jehovah's Witnesses about it. Chomsky or Parenti? Parenti all the way. Are you kidding? Parenti is great. Chomsky is an absolute joke. I mean, didn't Chomsky endorse Biden? Like, we should go out and we should vote for Joe Biden and the U.S. I mean, have you seen that video where Chomsky was like, Marx would be turning in his grave if he saw the USSR, and it's like Marx would be turning in his grave. Like, the Paris Commune was literally like this Proudhonist experiment, and Marx was still giving it a ton of praise. Imagine if he saw, um, imagine if he saw the USSR, like it would literally blow his mind. Like the Paris Commune was literally just a bunch of Trudeaus grabbing guns and seizing power. Imagine just seeing the USSR. Oh my God. Karl Marx, a Satanist.
Was Karl Marx really an atheist? Back in 2012, when my YouTube channel was in its infancy and I was in the process of learning about the nefarious nature of Marxism, I made a video called Karl Marx, Idol of the Idol. In this video, I documented the history and character of Karl Marx. Not only was he a layabout and a mean-spirited scrounger, but his actions led to his family living in squalor, as he dedicated a great many...
Oh wait, hold on. I'm getting thoughts on socialist realism. I mean, it was. I mean, I don't know. Personally, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people would consider, like, a lot of people compare the socialist realism to Nazi propaganda, but I don't really see the connection there. I think it's a good tool, and I think it was a good tool, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not like an art major or anything. I mean, it looks nice to look at, but the reason why people really went into abstract art is because of that reaction to socialist realism. The reason why, Jackson Pollock was even really famous in the first place because he had so much funding from the U.S. government to create abstract art. And nowadays, abstract art is seen as this like liberal left thing. And I definitely enjoy abstract art a lot more than I do any socialist realism. What would Marx call people like Vosh? Honestly, Vosh would. I don't even know. I don't even know. I mean, it's funny because I don't even know. Like, what do you even call Vosh? Like, just someone who's opportunistic, basically. Lenin was right wing. There's a video called Lenin was right wing. Thoughts on Zizek? I don't really even consider Zizek to be a leftist. You can have criticisms of capitalism without being a leftist. Like Andrew Chang comes to mind. How did you become an ML? So I became an ML around 5 or 6 years ago. And how I did it was I was originally an ANCOM. And I became an ANCOM through one of my friends. And I watched this old ANCOM YouTube channel. I forgot what it's called. And he was just reading like super basic utopian stuff like what is property and conquest of bread. And he was like talking about Kurt Hawkins' criticisms of Bakunin, etc. So those were some of my experiences with anarcho-communism, and then it went on, and eventually I discovered like a bunch of Leninists in a comment section, like rating his channel, and I was like, what the hell? Why do people have like Mao as their profile picture? Like, didn't Mao? I literally like this is the thing, right? When I was in school, I was taught that Mao killed 80 million people and that Stalin killed 20 million people. Like, that isn't even a meme. Like, I literally thought that Mao killed 80 million people when I was growing up. And I thought, how do you, have someone who's your profile picture who killed 80 million people? So eventually I found Jason Unruh and I watched some of Jason Unruh's older videos. And back in the day, he actually looked pretty normal. He had like a black short buzz haircut and like a beard, and he looked like a pretty normal dude. Occasionally he'd like dress up and have like a bunch of flags, but eventually I just went down that path and I discovered Finball. And then I started reading about Marxism, and that's basically how I became a ML. Thoughts on Pol Pot. And also communists that support him. Yeah, Mao. Pol Pot was utterly insane. Pol Pot was utterly insane. I mean, the best way you can describe Pol Pot was like nationalist and prim. Um, a lot of people will compare Pol Pot taking support from Thatcher to like um, Mao taking guns from the Americans to fight the Japanese, but yeah, I mean, the Vietnamese Communist Party definitely did a good service to humanity by removing Pol Pot. Um, yeah, anti-glasses gang. Chomsky said Lenin was right wing. No way, you're lying. Hold up. Have you heard of the situation as international? It sounds familiar, but hold on. Chomsky. Bro, I'm literally so tired of Kim Stilla. Noam Chomsky said that totalitarian Stalinism was the logical development of Leninism, not ideological deviation, which resulted in collectivization and force with the police state. You know what's funny is no one actually talks about the collectivization that happened before the USSR. Everyone only focuses on the USSR. Um, and even then, like, okay, you're collectivizing the USSR to expropriate land from like the wider kulak class into peasant co-ops. Like, that's authoritarian. Okay, like you're literally removing books on articles. Oh, let's go to Reddit, the bastion of intellectualism. I'm referring to what Chomsky says in this video.
I, like I'm sure many, many, many other people who are here tonight.
When you grow big enough, you should start reading Yeah, I don't know. Thoughts on Juche? Juche is good for the North Korean people. I don't believe that Juche is revisionism. Um, Juche is definitely good for North Korea. I don't believe that Juche is revisionism. I had to read a book by some wealthy Chinese girl about how horrible China was in in sixth grade. Yeah, I remember I literally thought that like Mao killed like 80 million people, which now that I think about it is like absolutely insane. Rocky Mr. E started out as a right libertarian and became more paleo and conservative over years. Yeah, I think I remember Rocky Mr. E. Chomsky 100% said that. He also said that the TPP was stolen.
Are deeply indebted to your work. It's been absolutely essential in helping us cut through the kind of garbage that we're faced with every day when we try to figure out what's going on in the world. But I think there's also, if I can continue, I think there is also a problem in the analysis that I've seen of your works and that you presented tonight, in the sense that I think we can tend to lose the forest for the trees, that you present so many, astonishing details about
Biden 2020, absolutely not.
what is wrong with the system, about what is wrong with the media, that we can tend to lose sight of what I think the really key question is, which is why is this control necessary in the first place? And I would submit at least that I think it's because there's antagonistic, I got a minute and a half, I swear to God it's no longer. It's because there's antagonistic interests involved. They didn't talk about milkmaids and dairy, whatever it was, dairy maids and spinsters and laborers in the 17th century for no reason. It's because they were the working class. And what we see today in this country, I think, is quite frankly, let's speak bluntly, a ruling class which tries to control a working class population. And that's what it's about, is holding on to that power. If that's the case, then it seems like to me the question that we face.
Hold on, I literally gotta piss. Okay. Alright, thoughts on anarcho-syndicalism? Anarcho-syndicalism is a meme. Every single society that anarcho-syndicalists cite are memes. CNTFIA had a huge bureaucracy that they self-imposed, um, which isn't very anarchist to me. I mean, I think people like tremendously overrate the CNTFIA. Yes, they did have key parts of the resources of Spain, but I think people definitely overblow the CNTFIA and fanboy them. Anarcho-syndicalism is kind of a meme. There are arguments you can. I'm plan reading up on fascism and Marxism as I think we will see a rise of both. Is there anything else worth exploring? Um, mm, no, nothing comes to mind. Giovanni Gentili, obviously the Fascist Manifesto. Radical Reviewer is one of the much better anarcho-communist YouTubers in my opinion. He's very well read. What you say, far viewed and Vosh. Yeah, I've seen a couple of Radical Reviewers videos, and he's one of the only anarchists like that I can actually palate because he's someone that actually before he makes criticisms, he actually understands something. Yeah, like he actually understood Leninism before he made criticisms of Leninism, which like I can get, but if you're just like someone like Vosh, all you do is just read memes and whatever. Oh damn, where'd it go? Cheers, cheers, friend. Damn, those streamers use piss bottles. Honestly, like I literally just like Googled how to stream on YouTube right now. I just gotta add everyone from Caleb Moppin server. Why is Vosh pro Biden all of a sudden? Yeah, he believes it's a pragmatic way towards socialism. Yeah, he basically has this like lesser evil mentality, and it's basically the same thing that people had back in 2016. Um, Honestly, at this point, he might as well be a CIA plant. What's up, FEK? FEK 1917 says, "Who would be worse in office and how, Biden or another 4 years of Trump?" Honestly, Biden is comparably worse than Trump in foreign policy because Biden voted for the Iraq War, which was trillions of dollars down the drain. It was one of the most devastating things. Thousands of Americans' lives lost. You know, what, like 100,000 Iraqi lives lost. It was just, completely dismantling, um, a nation. And then, it's funny. People will like I've heard a lot of blood for oil memes and whatever, and saying that we didn't go in for oil, but it's funny because Iraq actually became the second largest exporter to oil, if I recall correctly, to America after the Iraq War. So yeah, if he believes it is because of electoral fills, he'd have to tell people to read theory and organize, and also do something himself, which contradicts the streamer gift paradigm. Yeah, I guess one of my friends was actually she told me uh, that I guess Vosh was involved in some like organization work before he actually became a streamer, which is like really, it was actually kind of surprising to me. Um, Thoughts on Rojava and Zapatista. Rojava are just they're some different level of agrarian social democracy. I don't think people understand that socialism is not about being in an agrarian society. It's not really being. I mean, I would honestly call Rojava like a semi peasant society. Like I would go as far as to say that. Zapatista is I mean, it's good for national liberation. Like I don't oppose like um, damn, what's it called? I don't oppose I don't oppose what's it called? Yeah, this is at 10:45, by the way. I don't oppose like the fight for self-identity, but um, the struggle for national liberation. But the EZLN have even admitted that they are anarchists. Thoughts on Che Guevara? Absolute hero. Um, he was pretty much the ideal. Um, he was the idealist in terms of. He was like the idyllic uh, communist fighter in terms of his understanding of theory, but also his application as a soldier. Um, Extremely heroic person. Have you actually visited a socialist country? I would actually go to the DPRK. I mean, I would go to the DPRK if I could, but no. I mean, right now the only country I would really actually I would really consider to be socialist is the DPRK, and I don't think they're letting me in anytime soon. Have you read Why Socialism by Albert Einstein? I have. Foch is the literal meme of be bisexual, suck at theory. Foch thinks he should vote for Biden because Destiny thinks he should vote for Biden. Yeah, it's funny to see Destiny's audience basically completely fall in love with what's it called? Fall in love with Vosh after his endorsement. No more Zionist wars. Democrats are generally better at implementing right-wing policies. Yeah, I mean, shout out to the lunatic tanky that made Vosh look like a baby boy. Keep the awesome of Conrad. Yeah, shout out to Danky King. I mean, I remember Danky was around when I had like 100 subscribers, and yeah, for sure. I mean, his community over there is definitely they definitely have a lot of stuff going on, and that's actually how I even got the idea to talk to Vosh in the first place was through Danky's community. Um, Thoughts on veganism? I mean, I have like a lot of family that are vegan and vegetarian. Like a lot of my family are like complete hippies about that. My cousin is vegan. My cousin is vegetarian. Um, I mean, I guess as long as you take supplements or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I'm particularly not a fan because I only eat like four things. So, and one of them is chicken. So, yeah, it's pretty cool that Che Guevara was a doctor too. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't understand people that actually go through the process of becoming a doctor. Supreme Leader Danky Kane will bring down Imperius Flash down. Yeah.
It's how it organized to change that system, to challenge capitalism. And I think in that effort, you do a disservice to your listeners and to the people who respect your work when you equate Lenin with Stalinism as lightly as you did tonight. I say that, and I think it's
Oh, something that's funny that I want to bring up is that there were actually more members in the Communist Party after Stalin took over than there were during Lenin. And that's something that I brought up to like a couple of Vosh fans, and they just completely like blew it off and said it was irrelevant. But um, there were more peasants in collective farms. The number of collective farms grew, and there were more members of the Communist Party. GDP second highest per capita in the world, only second behind Japan. And Japan had, what is it, like $1 billion poured into it by the U.S. West Germany alone had $1 billion poured into it by the U.S. Um, Thoughts on Cuba? Cuba is definitely a Cuba is definitely going down the path of ultra revisionism, and they're moving towards the China model. I mean, at this point, I don't really have much to say about modern day Cuba. Obviously, uh, older Cuba, I have a lot more to say about, but modern Cuba, not so much. Supreme Leader came with bringing it. I think it was pretty brave of you to debate Vosh without a mod. It takes a lot of thinking on your feet to deal with all the weird BS Vosh says. Yeah. Um. Yeah, it was pretty difficult towards the end because um it's very, very difficult to argue with someone who talks that fast because I don't really talk fast, and I kind of have to process what someone is saying before I can really respond to them. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm like slow or dumb or whatever, but Flosh is just like and like I don't really understand how he's like an extremely good orator, but honestly at the end of the day, as long as you have the material understood, as long as you have some sort of theoretical basis understood, then Vosh is going to look like an absolute joke. Yeah, he did look like he was about to break down. I don't know what happened to him. I guess he went like emotional at the end to try to captivate his audience or whatever. What are some good books on Stalin? I'd read Grover Fur. I mean, just look at Grover Fur's repertoire. Um, I'd read Ludo Martin's Another View of Stalin, although he does kind of go a little bit too hard on the apologism. But most of the statistics I know about Stalin, most of the actual hard facts that I know about Stalin came from Ludo Martin's book. Um, you can read Blood Lies, but it's huge. It's like massive, and you could also read Khrushchev Lies. Um, at what point do you think the USSR was beyond saving before Gorby? I would say the USSR was beyond saving after the uh, post-Stalin purges and after Khrushchev came along. De-Stalinization. It's funny that they call it de-Stalinization, but I mean, Glasnost and Perestroika completely annihilated the USSR. Um, yeah, but definitely before Gorbachev, I would say it was beyond saving. Foch is a broken record of stupidity.
It's also important to point out that that is an unquestioned
Agreed.
assumption and also an easier pause getter we saw that you share with the mainstream media. And I think if it were actually that simple, the horrific kinds of measures that even bourgeois historians describe as a counter-revolution under Stalin would not have been necessary if they were all the same to begin with. Now, in short, to sum up, the situation that you have outlined tonight I think is extremely serious, and I think it's important that we all take it seriously. What we're talking about is literally the fate of millions of lives around the world, particularly in the international politics that you described. That being the case, then I think we need a full and a serious and a fair discussion of various different alternatives, not just talking about the horrors of capitalism, but actually how to change it to end this stuff once and for all.
Well, I think you made, I think, well, there's several questions there. One is about the discussion of the United States, and I think what I said is approximately what you said, except I didn't use some of that rhetoric. Which I don't particularly think is particularly helpful to tell you the truth, either analytically or understand or whatever, but it's the same picture. John Jay had it straight. The people who own the country are government, and the people who own the country have basically now are a network of corporations and conglomerates and banks and so on. They are government, and the way they do it is by the methods we described. Now, as far as the Soviet Union is concerned, I didn't have to talk about it tonight, but I've written about this topic. I haven't just made the charge. I've written about it and explained why I think it's true. And it doesn't bother me if I happen to agree with the mainstream media on this. Trotsky, to pick somebody who you remember, once he was charged in the 1930s with agreeing with the fascists in his condemnation of the Soviet Union. And he pointed out that his critique was to be true. He wasn't going to abandon it if somebody else happened to say it for different reasons. So the question is about the Soviet Union, and particularly about Lenin. So what was Leninism? Well, here we have to look at facts. Now, you look at the facts, I think here's what you find. Lenin was a right-wing deviation of the socialist movement, and he was so regarded. He was regarded as that by the Marxists, by the mainstream Marxists.
By the mainstream Marxists. One of the funniest things about Chomsky is he never really describes who he's really talking about. By the mainstream Marxists, terms like mainstream, terms like not professional, just terms like mainstream are just some of the most empty terms. Who are the mainstream talks? Thoughts on Trotskyism. I haven't actually had a lot of interactions with real Trotskyists, but in terms of the theory of the deteriorated worker state, I believe that comes from a misrepresentation of the lower and higher phase of communism as two distinct modes of production. Communism and the higher and lower phase of communism are ultimately two stages of the same mode of production, and to call the USSR a deteriorated worker state wouldn't make any sense because it would fall under the dictatorship of the proletariat. And yeah, I mean overall, I don't really have many conversations with Trotskyists. Mistake capitalism was authoritarianism. Yeah,
Be forgotten who the mainstream Marxists were because they lost, and you only remember the guys who won. But if you go back to that period, the mainstream Marxists were people like, for example, Anton Konikov, who was head of education for the Marxist movement, and he's one of the people who Lenin later denounced as an infantile leftist. But he was one of the leading intellectuals of the actual Marxist movement. Rosa Luxemburg was another mainstream Marxist, and there were others. And they were very critical. In fact, Trotsky was one up until 1917. They were all very critical of Leninism because of this, what they regarded as this opportunistic vanguardism. The idea that the radical intelligentsia were going to exploit popular movements to seize state power, and then to use that state power to whip the population into the society that they chose. Now, that was quite inconsistent with Marxism as understood by the mainstream sort of, I'd say, left Marxists. From this point of view, Bolshevism was a right-wing deviation. Trotsky made the same points up until 1917. Now, when Lenin came back to Russia in April 1917, he took a different line, quite a different line from the one he'd had in the past. If you take a look at Lenin's work, it shifted character in April 17. In April 1917, it became kind of libertarian. That's when he came out with the April Theses, and that's when he wrote State and Democracy. It came out a year later, but that's when it was written. And these were State and Revolution. These were basically libertarian works. They were very much more in the mainstream of sort of left libertarian socialism. From
State and Revolution is left libertarian. No, I wouldn't really describe socialism as left libertarian, or State and Revolution as left libertarian. No, I mean, He was talking about the April theses right now, which kind of confused me, but that's also I have been on meetings with Trotskyists. They are weird. Yeah, depending on what kind of Trotskyist you talk to, they can either be like a meme Trotskyist or like an actual real Trotskyist. Um, that has actually read Trotsky and actually holds the deteriorated worker state theory, but that theory is ultimately a straw man of what Marx was saying about the lower and higher phase of communism. They aren't separate mode of productions. You have capitalism, and then you have the transitory period, and then you have um, sorry, I'm texting people, and then you have communism. Noam Chomsky also has a quote where he says he hasn't had the foggiest idea of what dialectical materialism
The
is.
range that goes from anarchism over to left Marx.
Yeah, if you want a good book to read, if you want a good diamet dialectical materialist book to read, I would read what's it called? I just got done reading it. It's How the World Works by Cockshot. And I guess Cockshot is actually I was talking to one of my friends about it, and I guess Cockshot is actually pretty reactionary. But this book came out recently in 2020, and it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. It basically goes through the history of, pre the agrarian revolution, then conquest, slavery, feudal society, slaves getting their plots of land, and then it goes on to, talks about usurers, and then it goes on to generalized commodity production. It goes on to capitalism. But I guess Cockshot is actually kind of reactionary. Chomsky said the fall of the USSR was ultimately a good thing for socialism. Yeah, I don't think people understand what the USSR was. The USSR was literally exporting socialism all over the world. Thoughts on socialism in one country? Um, Socialism in one country. I mean, Lenin first hypothesized it. Stalin went on with it. Trotsky obviously disagreed with it, and it comes from this quote. I believe it was from Marx, where Marx says, or it might be from Engels actually. No. It's the quote from. I think it's from Principles of Communism, where Engels says that the revolution has to be international. Um, yeah, that quote was from Principles of Communism, and the funniest thing is that that quote actually never ended up in the manifesto, which came after Principles of Communism. They say they disliked the Stalin's personality cult, but then they always said Trotsky said Trotsky wrote Trotsky did. Yeah, I mean it's a little bit hard to. I mean, in terms of the whole personality cult thing, no. Like Stalin, like the only reason why people remember Stalin and think of him as having a personality cult is because he was the most prominent figure in terms of the face of world history, and especially because of World War II. But the Politburo and the Central Committee repeatedly voted down Stalin. I believe it was actually the head of the NKVD, the Politburo, actually rejected Stalin's proposal for the head of the NKVD. Uh, I mean, you can watch Endymion for that. Fun fact: in Mao's China, literacy went down, life expectancy doubled, mortality declined. There's a good article by the Monthly Review debunking the Western narrative. You could also read this article. Which is about the ending of foot binding and Mao's treatment and ideology of women. Obviously, there's the famous quote, "Women hold up half the sky," but this is a very, very good article about, obviously Lenin wrote a lot of books about women's struggles, but this article basically goes through um, Mao's movement towards women's liberation. Cockshaw is kind of like a boomer when it comes to social issues. Yeah, he's definitely pretty reactionary. I think he's just like, I don't know. I think it's because the thing is like LGBT um, acceptance is an extremely new thing, and most people don't realize that in terms of a historical context, this is like a brand new thing, and he is just, I mean, he's just reactionary, but um, I would definitely consider. I would probably definitely consider Cockshot to be pretty reactionary. He just takes like a boomer mentality. I have Cockshot on Facebook. His economic work is actually, but his social views are kind of reactionary. Yeah, I never really actually knew that, but yeah, he is pretty reactionary in terms of his social views. But his economic work is fantastic. I mean, his YouTube channel. If you ever want a good, um, if you ever want like, I mean, this is literally like the best Marxist YouTube channel is Paul
Juice.
Cockshot's channel. I mean, it's just insane the wealth of knowledge that he has here. Um, it's just absolutely incredible. And there was also a Median article called "Reassessing the Great Leap Forward" that everyone should read. I think I've actually heard that one. Yeah, I get sometimes people troll me because I cite because I talk about Medium. Found out about you after the debate with Vash. You dismantled his foul leftism. Great job, dude. New follower. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I'm just out here. It's 11 o'clock now. I'm just bored streaming. Have you read Paul Cockshot's Towards New Socialism? I have. Um, I can appreciate it, but some of the mathematic and computational mathematics parts, they're important for having, but obviously they went over my head, especially when he's talking about the different stages of planning. Um, I'm not a major in mathematics or anything. Do you read Goen's blog? I don't. Thoughts on Poseidism? There was a huge. I mean, you want to talk about cult of personality? Look at the cult of personality behind Poseidus. Um, thoughts on Poseidism? I think Poseidism gets memed on far too much, but ultimately Poseidus was just Trotsky, and he relied too much on the strawman of the deteriorated worker state. What is modern Russia today? Modern Russia today could be considered a rival imperialist nation to America. Russia is a little bit unique though because Putin knows that he needs to keep getting reelected. That he, in order for him to keep getting reelected, he has to care for the livelihood of his citizens, and that's why he did stuff like nationalize oil. And it's funny if you look at OPEC meetings, you have all the regular OPEC members, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, but you actually have a Russian representative there because Russia works with OPEC. Um, now that the Russian oil industry is nationalized, I believe it's nationalized completely. What is Poon? I would actually consider Poon to be kind of. I mean, I've heard that Putin has a lot of extremely wealthy friends, and it could be considered an oligarchy, but I don't think Putin is interested in any sort of remotely anti-capitalist idea. What is their state ideology? Probably Bonapartism. Ugh, probably Bonapartism. Thoughts on transhumanism? I mean, I'm all for scientific progress. Um, in terms of transhumanism, I don't really have like a moral argument against it, but I do definitely think we should look into things like stem cell research. And yeah, I am for scientific progress. Transhumanism, though, I mean, I don't know. I'd rather be able to modify genetics than be able to have some sort of augmentation or whatever. So, okay. Alright.
Marxism was the kind
I'm gonna watch this and I'm gonna probably go.
of Luxemburg variety. And he talked about Soviets and the need for workers' organization and so on. In fact, came really closer to what the essence of socialism was always understood to be. After all, the core of socialism was understood to be workers' control over production. That was the core. That's where you begin with. Then you go on to other things. But
Yeah, socialism is um, workers' control over means of production. This is a thoughts on fully automated luxury gay space communism. I mean, if you look at my background, My background is car seat headrest, bro. Like, you better know that we out here. Like, my background is literally car seat headrest. Like, I'm literally the biggest car seat headrest fanboy to ever exist. So you better know that we out here. Um, yeah, anyway. I mean, this is a lot more successful than I thought. Thanks for everyone who came here. I don't know, I just want to play a little Dead by Daylight, but it's cool to talk. Yeah, I'm gonna go chill. Alright, well, thank you guys for coming out. I know there was a couple thousand people here, so it was really hard for a lot of you guys to get in words, but I hope you guys got in all of your words. But yeah, good stream, thanks. It was an excellent stream. Scientific progress for the sake of it, though. Something deadlier than nuclear weapons down the line. I do believe in scientific progress for the sake of scientific progress. Science is ultimately going to allow humans to conquer the greatest frontier that exists, and I believe that's in the mind. And I mean, just imagining what we can do to ourselves. I mean, I'm all for genetic engineering. Noam Chomsky's predictions.
And it's a tragedy.
Bakunin's predictions, yes. My favorite prediction of Bakunin was when he criticized Marxism for being an international. Uh, yeah, I'm just rambling. Criticized Marxism for being an international Jewish conspiracy. Alright, I'm gonna get off. Alright, thanks guys. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys later.